I'm just telling the audience in here they can speak for a little while. You guys can talk until we're actually on. We're not on just yet. Say bye bye. Right. So let's have a look. Yes, they're there, mate. They're there.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So we just need to let people know that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure when, but there might be an appropriate time.
End of the show?
Yeah, that's always appropriate.
Yeah, okay.
Piss off, you dickheads. And
we are live now, by the way, yeah.
Then YouTube will shut me down again.
Yeah. just practicing his closing gambit. Just for everybody's.
I need to work on it, I think.
Yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was just going to do a quick run actually, because I think we are looking straight away for downside in the FTSE 100.
In the FTSE.
Yeah, straight out of the traps. I don't think it's going to be deep, but I do think that we're probably going to get some instant downside. You can see some of the lines I've got on the chart here. Now we're just above this daily pivot. The price action is just above the daily pivot, but we have broken through this trend line, which is a bit of a concern. And if I use the RSI to kind of track my trend line as well, then it just tipped through. You can't see it that well, but it's just tipped through. So I think the RSI is signaling a little bit of downside. I think the break of the trend line signals some downside. Yes, I would like to see us up here. You can see this weekly pivot up here, and it seems to coincide with this other trend line.
At the moment, I can't see anything, which is
can you not? Okay,
disturbing. I don't know what's going on.
Let me just check whether it's okay on YouTube. No, it's not. Okay, that's my fault. Now, why has that happened? Here we go. Better?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Apologies to everybody else. Wasn't able to see it. Oh gosh, that's something else we need to change as well. The fact that Paul's name keeps coming up. So this is what I was talking about. I was just talking about the fact that we've got the daily pivot here, the weekly pivot here. I think on most occasions, I'd be looking for the crunch between these 2 points, but I have to say early doors I'm not. Now that's not to say that I don't quite fancy the weekly pivot, maybe later in the session, but my first kind of thought is that we're probably likely to drift down as we open the market here. I've got a trend line break. We've come through. I've got a trend line break here, and that trend line coincides with an RSI trend line break as well. Now the RSI is slightly above 50%, so that probably doesn't indicate a decent move down. And plus the fact, I think that there's probably been enough in the way of headlines to have really pushed this down already, which hasn't happened. So it might be a drift, but I'm not aiming for this yellow line, by the way. It's probably somewhere around about here. Now I'll put another yellow line back in, but I'm looking for this area. So not a great deal, but I'm looking for the market to ease down here, and then after it's eased down there, looking to see whether it can bounce. I can't say at this stage that I am looking for a bounce, but I am looking to see if it can. So
I thought you may have actually been interested in neckline break retest.
Do you know what?
If you could, yeah.
I never really like trading the neckline, but I much prefer to try and get it on the right shoulder, which was really plain actually. It was a really good trading day Friday, because this was really plain. There was a few kind of things, and I can come to that, I suppose. It's after the event, so maybe not quite as informative, but there are some like educational values in this particular point. But in actual fact, yeah, well, that would be the neckline break anyway, mate. So yes, I am in some respect. I don't particularly like playing it, but now when I think about it, that is actually what I am trying to play. So I'm trying to play the move to the
I was
downside.
actually thinking it may well have happened with if you
Oh,
lift
here?
the neckline up. If you lift the neckline up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
yeah
yeah. I
to the
gotcha.
high.
Yes, it may well have happened already. You're absolutely right. To be honest, I was in way before this neckline anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll show you in a minute. Actually, I'll show you why. So that's what I'm looking for. Push to the downside, and probably trading it short, looking to see whether there can be a bounce. If there is, moving up to here. So I'm looking at it. To my mind, it's a bit rangy today. I'm not really expecting anything huge. Certainly nothing like any of the moves that we've seen recently. I'm expecting something a little bit more muted, but I suppose I am looking for some movement in the market. So a 30 pip move to the downside, and then maybe from that particular point to the highs, maybe a 60 pip pop from the low to the high. So a little bit rangy from where we currently are. I don't think we're going to. I think there's 30 pips above and there's 30 pips below, but I think we see the low first. That's what I'd be kind of looking for and anticipating. Of course, we might just pop straight forward, and if we pop straight forward, then I think it's probably much more likely that we should look for the shorts in this area to come down. So there's two potential scenarios, but the first one is my preferred. So that's the one I'll be looking for, down and up again.
Bear flag too long in the tooth.
Let's have a look. Do you know, it's not that. It's more the fact of where it is. Now, when we sort of consider this, this is the thing. So we've got now I know what you mean about this being the potential neckline there. So that would have been the bounce. But the reason that this was the area was because we had the employment numbers out on Friday. And the market had come down and managed to check this area before the employment numbers, way before actually. So because of that, it was a fair place to take a trade because it was unlikely to break down, and it was a gorgeous little inverted head and shoulders as well. It's starting to look really deep, really quite attractive. So and the other thing about that particular area, obviously, we just saw that there was a daily pivot there, so there was a lot holding this up. But these are one of those things that you just look at that pattern and you think every reason this pattern should hold up. So I take the trade and it starts to move to the upside. So I did actually take a little trade. I wasn't really interested in holding it for too long because I've got a lack of faith currently in a long-term upside move. I think we are in bearish territory now, and I am trying to play some of these bounces. It's not that I'm not interested in long bounces. I am. But I think it's going to be kind of choppy and struggle. So down and up, and then when it gets up, close positions and look for the short again. That's the way that I'm looking to play this. I don't have too much faith in the upside. But back to the bear flag. Why the bear flag doesn't interest me, and that's because of where we are in the pattern. So we got a head and shoulders here with our weekly chart, which is doing that. And because we're on the neckline of the weekly chart, the bear flag is not an area that I want to trade. I think that there's a wider picture. The bear flag is probably off a 4-hour or possibly a daily chart, but it's just not a pattern that I particularly want to trade right now. So we have just opened up, and we just let's just have a quick look at what happens here. We are just popping to the downside, so I don't know how low we're going to go, and this is going to be possibly fairly significant in with these first few minutes, because we have got a few reasons to be looking for the short. So if the short doesn't transpire, then the market is actually probably going to be fairly resilient for the day. So I am looking for the short to transpire. So looking for downside of around about 30 pips, and then we're looking for a bounce. So that's the idea this morning, mate.
Cool, mate. Want to take a look at some currencies then?
Yeah,
Shall
let's
we?
have a look at how they could affect things. Interested with the pound this morning. I'm obviously quite interested with the euro as well to see can it get out of its lock. Interested in the yen. Do you look at the dollar yen often?
Look, as a reference point, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interested in that one from a personal perspective because I think it will be fascinating to see whether we are risk off currencies. And we'll check out a bit of gold later as well because I think gold's a very interesting point when it comes down to a bearish pattern. But can it break down is the question.
Yep. Cool. Oil's interesting as well.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So we've got a catalogue of things
too.
to look at this morning. That's brilliant.
Yeah, truckload, but it's more out of interest than tradability at the moment. Although I think there's probably some pointers that oil can give us towards perhaps the CAD in particular. So yeah, pound. Let's go with the pound. And as always, it seems the pound has just struggled to make headway above the 124 mark, and every time it sort of pokes its beaver towards 125, 126, it kind of gets knocked over. Nothing's changed here, and down we go again. Did anything happen over the weekend, mate? I know there's a Supreme Court thing going on with Johnson, but is there anything other than that that's going on Brexit-wise?
Sorry, mate, I missed that.
I said, is there anything over the weekend that's happened?
Yeah,
about the place anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they've put their proposals through now, and Johnson. I mean, there's kind of lots and nothing. It was a fairly kind of flabby weekend when it comes down to kind of Brexit headlines. I think there was, again, kind of Johnson defiant of the Queen because the Queen could sack him, but Johnson defiant was one of the headlines, and he's taken his deal to the EU, and they haven't rejected it. They've kind of battered it away and sort of said you got to move more. This particular deal is no good. Boris Johnson's initial stance was this is the deal or no deal. And they've kind of come back and said, no, that's not going to work for us. So we will talk, but that's not going to work. And Boris Johnson's kind of saying, well, I've got backing in Parliament now. So kind of flabby, which I think is why we're probably seeing that manifest itself in the charts. I don't think the charts are really telling us a lot, are they, right now? And I think that's probably why I think we're still on hold. And if I'm honest, Friday is the day. Now, what was it Friday? I was reading Friday's, there's something important Friday, maybe a decision on Friday about the deal or something. So I think the pound's going to be a tricky trade this week.
Just for a change, you think?
Just for a change, yeah. Yeah. God, I mean, do you know, I was talking to a friend of mine, actually, who's in a really bad trade at the minute. And I was saying, sometimes just trading is just out and out tough. And do you know the story of Job?
From the Bible?
Yes.
Job. Yes,
yeah.
Pronounced Job.
Yes.
I'm a bit rusty on it, to be fair, Ash. So remind me.
Oh, well, I mean, I won't go too far into it, but basically, God tests Job's faith and love for him by just kind of giving him the roughest and rawest of deals that you can imagine. He kind of he takes away his crops. He takes away his firstborn son. He just.
That's right. He gives him a terrible time. Yeah.
Yeah, he gives him. In fact, no, he allows the devil to. I think that's what it is. He allows the devil to give him a terrible time. And I said to him, maybe I'm going to say something that might offend somebody. Actually, I won't go for that joke. I'll tell you that off air. But it was to do with trading and how tough trading is. So
and then I'll tell everyone tomorrow.
The problem is I'm not religious and I don't know what the boundaries are of what you can joke about and what you can't. So it's probably better.
We should get Ricky Gervais on. He should.
Yeah, have you seen his new show Afterlife?
No, I've seen Afterlife 1.
Okay, yeah, very funny. No, there's a new one due out next year.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, he'll say whatever he needs to say to get a joke to get a laugh on. He's not bothered.
Anyway, there's a reason that they're saying the patience of Job exists, right?
Yes,
And you're about to
yes.
tell us why. Is that right?
No, no. It was just a comment on how
Right.
difficult the markets can be, and all I was going to say was that if you want a market to get your stabilizers kind of fit, your first kind of foray into trading, if you want it to be the hardest possible initiation, just trade the pound. That
Yeah,
was really
that's
going to be
right.
my point. The pound
Exactly.
is tough at the minute. It is a tough trade, and actually saying that at the minute, it's been like this for a while, hasn't it? I mean, you've taken a few trades and you haven't got run over, but I know a few people that have, and I just don't think you
Yeah.
can hang your hat.
No, you can't. You have to be very, very, very selective and have the patience of Job. But it's tough to know what time frame to trade it on
Big
at
thing,
the
isn't it?
moment.
Yeah,
It's
I
really,
think
really
short.
difficult.
I don't see how you could trade anything but short term, if I'm honest, mate. With a look of allowing it to run, if you can, taking a bit of profit and allowing it to run. But
That's how I've been approaching it.
yeah, I don't. I think it's far too twitchy to try and take a long position, unless you're going to take a crazy long position. But that is going to cost a lot in swaps, and I don't know whether you'd call that trading. I think you'd have to invest in the pound rather than trade it if you're going to take that position.
Pretty much. And here's the issue, right? You've got a classic setup here. The only thing wrong is it's supremely counter trend. So you've got a big double bottom sitting here. You've got, if you're really keen, I suppose you could call that a neckline of sorts, where you've got this high and this high, which has been broken and retested, and a higher low.
Yeah.
Under most circumstances, you're going to take that trade. You're not going to enter at the weekly pivot. You're going to enter probably here somewhere. And when you do, and your stop's going to be under here somewhere. And when you do, you get taken into the trade, and you get taken into the trade with vigor by the look of this candle. And then, whoops, straight back into strife. You're at entry now if you took that candle. So you'd be okay. You should have taken profit here at some stage. And I've actually done that on Euro Pound, which I'll get to in a minute. But this is really heartbreaking when this sort of stuff happens, because you think, wow, this setup's pretty cool, and this is starting to go all right, and then suddenly bang, because the market says no, not right now. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're left with, because I think it's fear, and it's not having the conviction to go through with something that is under extreme pressure, and that is the pound, of course.
Yeah,
it is under extreme pressure.
Yeah, absolutely right, mate. And you're right. There is a lot of fear, I suppose, about getting this one wrong. There's certainly sort of like enough greed, if you like, or enough enough people out there that would love to take the punt on it, because if they're right, they're going to be right big time.
And that's been the case for some time, and that's why everyone is absolutely so keen to get into it. But you can get beaten up here badly if you're trading the pound. There's no question about that. The same thing here. Here's exactly the same scenario: double bottom, higher low. If you're not prepared to take profit, you're going to get swallowed, and swallowed big time. And that's exactly what you were talking about from the outset. Take it on small time frames and just take profit at the resistance levels. Or the resistance levels if you're trying to go long. If you're trending or trading trend, then you haven't got much to worry about, frankly. You just got to keep your stops loose, and you'll be going fairly well. But this is a fairly major retracement. The one that we've just had up until 3 weeks ago, and now come off. But it's giving you this mongrel candle on a weekly chart where you don't really know what happens next. But on the smaller time frame, on the daily time frame, it's very clear that that this is a potential long, but trade it at your own risk, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I'm trying to find ways around trading against the US dollar, because I think the US dollar is fickle in its own right. Take Friday, for instance. We had three lots of news on the dollar.
Unbelievable.
Which one do you go with? You know, do you go with a poor NFP number? Do you go with a wage decrease, or do you go with a massively good unemployment number? Which one do you go with? You know.
Yeah. And you know, what I was trading on Friday, obviously, as I tend to, and it was a tough day, but the reason it was so tough is that you just had to be on your mettle, you know, because all of a sudden it just about turned down, boom, and then straight to the upside. And it was one of those that you just kind of, I was trading, looking at the fact that at some point bad news was going to be good news because of the expectation that Jerome Powell will have to lower interest rates. The unemployment rate that you say was a good number. Interestingly, I don't see how it. I suppose, yeah, but I mean, it was 3.5%, wasn't it? So it was slightly better than expected. So I think when they saw that number, that probably helped that you had the consumer that was probably out there. But I think the most interesting number for me on Friday was the hourly earnings, because
the wages,
yeah, the wages, because they were previous was 0.4%. They were looking at 0.3%, and it came in at 0%. So the hourly earnings hasn't grown month over month, and that's usually a fairly decent signal of whether the consumer not only can afford to sustain the economy, but also can take an interest rate hike. So that was starting to look pretty weak for the economy. But I honestly think it turned around, because anything that the market was literally just needed something, and it was almost like a relief. We've got a number. So, you know, if I showed you the level that we were at on the FTSE 100, it was pretty critical. The level that it would needed to get through during those numbers was a number that was going to change the primary trend, so the biggest trend direction. And considering how far we've fallen, and how fast we've fallen, it was less likely to go straight through. But it really is, you know, the numbers we got, the price we got to on Friday was critical. So I think the market was just after anything it could get its teeth into, and it would make it would turn it into a positive, because I don't see, as you say, what do you trust? You know, because realistically, we're all looking at the fact it's quite binary, that the way I see it, we're basically looking at a shrinking worldwide economic situation. We've got poor numbers from Germany. We've got poor numbers from China. We've got a trade war which is not helping, and we don't really have Jerome Powell kind of going in at this stage and dousing the flames by saying that he is going to add some relief. You know, when you add up everything, there is nothing in the column which suggests that that the market is in a good place.
Only that everyone's employed, just about. That's the only.
Yeah, thing. That's true. That's true. But I suppose my concern is that does become a kind of that is a lagging indicator, if you like. It's not really kind of like something which gives you a forward guidance. I mean, nor does the stock market. This is the interesting thing. The stock market reacts, you know, a lot slower than everything else, because people will hang on as long as they possibly can to try and squeeze something out. But Powell was out on Friday, and he didn't say after the event, he didn't say anything popular, but the market was, you know, it's buoyant enough. But the market's in a very, very critical pricing, you know, point in price at the minute. And if it breaks down from here, it's a bit like the euro. It's going to be goodbye for a while. And it'd be interesting to see, you know, what it is that's going to drive it back. So I agree with you, mate, and it does make it tricky. So, you know, what do we do? Do we look at the dollar and think the market's going to be weak? Let's focus on the yen, or do we start looking at the dollar and saying the dollar's going to be weak? Let's focus finally on the euro, because that's where the liquidity is. Powell's not helping though.
One of the most amazing things that I've seen in the charts for many moons is exactly this chart here. not so much an hourly chart, but I'll go to the bigger time frame. But what I did want to point out is that's where the day opened on Friday, NFP day, dollar yen. That's where it closed on Friday.
Wow.
Dollar yen.
Wow.
Exactly the same price.
Yeah.
So complete doji day.
Yeah, with a huge bit of price action in the middle. And isn't it funny, if you were to look at a doji bar, it would not give you what happened on the day.
No, it wouldn't tell you what happened. That's right.
No, it would just tell you that there was indecision.
Yep. But if you look at dollar yen over the past goodness knows how long, well, it's just about ruined what I was about to say, because I thought this was on a big time tear to the downside over a longer period of time that it is. But really, if you go back only 2 years now, we've been in consolidation for a long time. Long time. Wow. I should pay more attention to this chart. I thought it was really going down, but it's not so much. But my point is still this, that, the dollar's been strong against just about every currency except the yen.
Yes.
How does this work? This has got me completely perplexed. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because
yet it's not risk off. The market has been anything but risk off.
Yeah, you're right. In some respects, I think the dollar has acted as a bit of a risk off, because when you think about what it's been trading, what we're looking against, you don't trade the pound for risk off. So where are you going to go? Yen, dollar. You don't trade the euro currently for risk off. So where are you going to go? You go yen or dollar, and I suppose that's the thing about it. The dollar is still a fair bet when it comes down to leaving your money there, because you get a half decent return in comparison to other currencies. There's very few whispers from the Federal Reserve that they're lowering interest rates, and the economy actually is okay. I mean, it's slowing. There's no two ways about it, but it's okay. So the dollar does, to a degree. I mean, because there can't just be one safe haven. I suppose there's got to be a little bit of diversification when you're kind of looking in there, because you're still going to want some return on your investment. And the problem with the yen, I guess, is that you don't get one. So unless there's out and out fear, then you probably try and avoid going for the yen if you can. So I guess that's what's been going on with that.
I think it kind of underlines how things are changing a little bit. It's not as it used to be. I think that's probably a safe way to put it, and that's why I'm kind of a little bit surprised. But hey, I should stop being surprised at what the market does, because it'll do what it wants to do, always has, always will. Anyway, let's get back to a bias, at least a bias. And from a technical point of view, I'm still long the pound. And the reason I'm still long the pound is probably the latest break of the trend line and retest of the trend line. And this monthly pivot area, which has just copped the hammering over every single day? Not really. We're 7 days into the month. Yeah, I'll say every single day. We've kind of had a little bit of a play off the monthly pivot. I thought we were away here. And that's what I was saying before. I honestly thought we were away here. Yeah. And not having it. But we did come back and retest again the monthly pivot and the trend line pretty much. We just missed that. There's now a channel forming, not perfect as yet. So obviously for me, who is a bit of a range trader, those of you who aren't aware, I call this a range. This channel here, I call this a range, this rectangle here. So as soon as I hit the bottom of those things, I'll be looking to trade back to the top. The trend line here is going to help. The monthly pivot here is going to help. So really I see just a truckload of support underneath the pound US dollar at the moment. Again, going back to the conversation that we've had prior to now, it's going to be extremely tough to find the right entry here because of the absolute volatility intraday that we're seeing in the pound and the inability for it to break clear. Every time it seems to be going clear, Allah here, it just gets dragged back. So I'm still a bull, and there are worse positions to take on a, let's call it, normal month of Sundays than to trade higher lows at support levels off reversals, at strong support levels. I'll add that one in. But that is the key. The key is just getting the entries right here and taking profit. I think I've got a little bit of cleared territory here. So what I really want to see to trade this is a false break of support. So that's going to come for me as something that looks like this. So we find support, let's call it the channel, the monthly pivot, the support trend line that we've got here. That'll do for now. That's stacking up well for me. If price was to come through here, hit that support level, get back above the other support levels, and then retest them, I think that's an entry there to go long. I would probably put my entry here, but I do think there's a little bit of clear space here in which you can take profit. Now, taking profit, once again, is the key for me. I've got to take profit here, or maybe even here, a little bit below that level. So if I manage to get into the market here, say, or even here, say, I'm taking profit here, just in case we get one of these. And that seems to be the theme lately. So yes, I'm looking for new highs, but I definitely understand that the dollar and the pound are a volatile commodity at the moment, and I'll respect that. And if I get to a resistance level, I am definitely going to take profit. You want to know about the euro, mate?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing about the euro. Just incidentally, I think anybody that's traded the FTSE short this morning, I would take your trade off. I don't like the look of it anymore. The fact that it's held firm for a decent amount of time, I think 20 minutes holding firm with what we currently got. If this starts coming down again, in fact, let me just quickly show you the screen.
Sure.
And then we'll get to euro, because this if you're in this is one of those trades where I enter and I just lose the love for it, because it just doesn't do what I need it to do. So really, if the market was to break down, it should have broken down by now. So if I was going to get the price I wanted, which was down here, then that should have really happened. Sorry, a little bit further down, it's down there. That should have really happened by now. So because that hasn't happened, the suggestion is either we go and see this weekly pivot now, which is absolutely fine, or it just gets caged, and there's just a really kind of, and it's not that it won't hit this area or this area, it's going to be tough to kind of see which one it's going to do. So you're better off just not playing the game that the market currently is trying to draw you into, and just letting it run. So to me, mate, this session this morning is a no-go. I just think,
okay,
get your trades off if you've got one on, and don't trade it, because this is more likely now to see the weekly pivot. But you might end up trading that and finding the same thing happen as looking for the downside, where it just kind of turns around and chops about. So I think it's going to be a tough day today.
Okie dokie. Let's have a look at the euro then. And what I think about the euro is a little bit of long before a fair bit of short. That's what I'm thinking. So here's why. We are once again looking at a descending channel here. We've broken through the major support level, in my humble opinion. Still, this bar is the dominant indicator, if you like, on the screen for me. We bounce off the bottom of the channel to the top of the channel. Haven't made it down to the bottom of that channel yet. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I'm still viewing 107.79 here. 0.5 if you like to be exact, but who cares? That's where I'm seeing the exit point for any trade that I get into short. Now, can this reverse? Absolutely, it can reverse. Do I expect it to? No, but I would be interested in trading it back to the resistance level. Now that resistance level is fast approaching. We're getting there. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if we just bounce off the monthly pivot until we find our way over to this level, until I guess we get something changing in fundamental terms, in Brexit terms, in goodness knows what. Trump can do anything. That's likely. So this can turn on a dime as well. I'll use the American expression. But really what I see here is a failure of this pair to breach this trend line any time in the past, well, pardon me, 4 months now. Why would I expect that to happen this time? I can't answer that question. I don't have a positive or an affirmation of that question. What I do see is a lower low here that's taken out the double bottom and looking for a retest of resistance. That resistance level could be right upon us now. We could be there and this could just disappear. I'd much prefer to see this level hit and then look for the short off there on a smaller time frame. Or have I got any time at all for the bulls? Look, I've got to say no. Yeah, I can see 110 again, and that's fine, but that's as far as it goes for me. I don't see anything above that unless something that I don't know about just yet from a fundamental point of view actually occurs. Technically, on the smaller time frames, I'm looking to play it to here. There's no question about that. I think that's a good level, that confluence area. But we've already got a double top sitting here as well at the top of a potential bear flag. So, yeah, do I want to trade it? No. I'm already short euro pound, so I don't need to jump into the euro short at the moment. But the potential is there for that to happen. But I'd much rather see it get back and test this level here. Then I'll be looking for shorts. So maybe a little bit of, and you can see the pivots here very, very close together. I can see a little bit of consolidation going on here for a bit, and then still looking for shorts when we hit that level. So that's where I'm at with the euro, mate. I still can't get the bigger picture out of my head, and the bigger picture is still telling me that this is the most dominant candle on the chart, and I can't see anything but.
Well, maybe these don't move until the end of the month. That's a possibility, isn't it? Because that's when we got Jerome Powell's rate decision. So maybe there's not a whole lot to do until then. I know there's a few things this week as well. We got the trade resumption of trade talks this week. We also have earnings season starting next week, so there's actually quite a lot out there which could shift the market. But it's one of those you get news that the market either goes nowhere or in the opposite direction that the news suggests, and that's purely because it's just waiting for a significant decision from the Federal Reserve. So maybe this is the same. Maybe we stay in a bit of a range for a little while, drifting, if anything, lower until the end of the month.
Yeah, potential drift is probably the word. But again, I'd like to see it get to here and then look for shorts. I don't know that we've finished this rally yet, but it doesn't look promising. If you're a bull and you're looking at that bar there, you're thinking, oh, I think I need to get out here. Well, that's what I'd be thinking anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not, so I don't need to do that. Rather, what I am, this is euro pound, so I'm putting them both together now. And look, mate, rarely do I see setups that please me as much as this. I think it's absolutely straight out of my textbook if I ever write one. And I've gone through profit here. I've taken profit. But the gap up this morning doesn't please me any at all. And I just wondered why this has happened, why the gap, and I don't know anything about that. I haven't found any fundamental reason why euro pound should gap. None?
That probably will be something to do with the deal being presented on Friday. Because as I said, there have been a lot of headlines, but they all sounded a bit flabby to me. It says that Macron. There's a little headline saying that Macron, the EU Brexit deal decision is going to be at the end of the week. So that cheers us up to a degree. The EU will decide at the end of the week whether a Brexit deal is going to be possible. Macron said talks should now proceed swiftly to see if an agreement can be respected. So looks like we've, maybe got 5 days, five more days of stuff before we get maybe something that resembles a bit of clarity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said before, I really see this set up as good as this has. Why? Well, because we've got a massive trend short that began about a month ago, and we've had a beautiful retracement on that to a resistance level. Sorry, big reversal bar in the first instance. Too big to trade for me, but I found a way in just about here somewhere. Let me find that entry. That entry was here underneath this consolidation area. I was actually trading the consolidation breakout. That's right. That was the trade. So got into that, took profit, obviously, where you would expect me to take profit, Ash, here and here. Mm-hmm. So that's all done. But I've kept my stops loose, and they're now under threat, I would have to say. I've got the monthly pivot and the twin tops supporting my stop loss at the moment. But I'm actually shocked that we haven't gone through here on that occasion. I thought this was primed to break. Didn't. I guess the good part about that is we're still inside the range, and maybe we want to have another look at the top of it. I don't see this breaking out, fundamentals aside. So as soon as we get back up here, even if my stop is hit, and it won't do any harm because, as I said, we've taken profit, but I'll be looking again to trade this short. And I know we've had a trend line break. I don't know that we've had a substantial retest of that, but perhaps we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just find a little bit of consolidation area here until something happens, and then bang, bang either way, who knows. But from a technical point of view, if I look at any chart is telling me that I need to be short biased here. We had a breakout of the descending channel. We've had a re-entry of the descending channel and a retest of it. If nothing else, I would place an entry there, but I'm more interested in catching it up here. So that's where my entry was. Again, if this stop is hit in profit, then all bets are back on. I'll just find a way to go back in. But I really, as I say, I'm super keen to get short this cross, and I'll continue to be so until this channel's broken and we've got price action above it. So that's where I'm at on euro pound.
Okay.
Aussie we haven't spoken about. I probably won't go too much further than the Aussie. I tend on a Monday to look only at the majors that I trade, and these are the 3 ones that I do. This is looking interesting to me. The daily chart's telling me that we've had a heck of a time trying to break this trend line, which appears on a weekly chart, and you've got to go pretty wide to find the derivation actually. But let's say it started here, but you can certainly see the level 67.5 that we've had a heck of a time trying to break below. And this is another rejection of that level, say 67. I'd be looking this week for Aussie dollar to rally at least back to here, maybe even back to here. We're starting to come across the confluence area here. So I'll be looking for a little bit of Aussie dollar bullishness to trade that right now. I'm not far from that. We've got a break of the bottom of the rectangle that I drew. We've got a resistance level hit. We've had a bit of a gap this morning. That throws me into complete confusion when we have a gap because I don't know why. But essentially, we've got now a retest of that trend line that I spoke of and the bottom of the range. So I'll be looking, and probably not today. I'm not a Monday trader as such, but I see very clearly what I need to be looking for. I need to be looking for a higher low after we've come back into the range and hit resistance. I don't really see that right now. Perhaps I'd like to see us get to the weekly pivot and give me a reversal bar of some kind. Then I can look to trade it long. I think we're in a bad spot right now because we've got pivots all over the place. And again, you know, the technicals are suggesting to me that we're probably going to range for a little bit as well. But I do have a double bottom here. I've got a clear double bottom, and I'm looking for a higher low to trade and it won't. I'm not a bull. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an Aussie bull, but I can definitely see an opportunity to trade this long back to resistance here in the first instance, and probably back up to 68.5 in extension. But that's as far as I'll go with the Aussie, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like we're in similar camps with everything there, mate. I'll quickly show you a chart of gold, because gold was a trade that looked pretty good to me for some downside. There's a nice bearish pattern. You know, everybody knows how much I like the head and shoulders pattern, and there is a head and shoulders on gold. It looks initially like it may have gone beyond it. In fact, there's another one here. This is an hourly. There's a left shoulder there and a head and a right shoulder. So there's that going on. But actually, it's the bigger picture with gold. This is a daily chart here. And let's just draw this properly. So what I have is, let me do it the right color. I have a left shoulder, and I have a head, and I've got my right shoulder there. Now that gives us a neckline along there, really. So it looked like it looks like it didn't really get through the neckline. But I think when we kind of look at this in a slightly different way, it kind of it suggests that there might well be a neckline in a slightly different place rather than straight along. I think it's kind of suggesting that the neckline kind of comes up a bit and raises up a little bit. So it just means that this price action that popped above it seems like if it comes back down to this point that it would fly again. So this bar on Thursday was suggesting some downside. Friday's bar was a little bit indecisive, but there was enough kind of price action to suggest that we'd hit this high. And in actual fact, the trade on Friday was through that point there, I think. But where was it? That was Friday. That was the trade Friday. So the market had popped up, seemed to be creating this high up here. It had come down and come back and retested all these pivots. So that was the trade Friday. Now it didn't collapse, but it managed to hold that particular price. So even though the price action hadn't popped forward, it's because it held that particular price. It is suggesting to me that a breakdown probably of this pattern now, and I think we could actually see something on gold. That's the area now, and that looks like a neckline along there. Not very well drawn line, but maybe that's a little bit better. But that looks like the area there. So if it starts to come through that area and pop up again, I'd like to know how deeply it could go, because I think both of us discussed the fact that the chance or the possibility that could happen now is that we could look for a little bit of downside, but only so it can get to the back to the trend line and see if the trend line holds. And I quite like the idea of that. I think maybe the lines along there, it's a little bit tricky to see, but what I quite like the thought of is playing the downside and seeing if it goes through, because I think there's enough suggestion, and I quite like this trade in some respects, because there's enough suggestion to say it's coming down. So you can take a trade to the downside, see if it gets to this area, and if it holds, take maybe the whole thing off. I don't know, but definitely take half, make it nice and safe. And if it holds and bounces, no harm, no foul, no big deal. If it holds and then all of a sudden goes through, you know, with stops on break even on the second half, then you've got a trade I think that could run a lot more significantly. So the key thing for me is that short term, even if this is going long in the medium term, it does suggest it's going to get sucked down into these areas down here. Now, that might not quite be the line. The line might be where the pivots are. So it might get sucked just down to that point, which actually looks a lot more likely. But I still think that there is enough scope there for a trade in the short term for price to get down to somewhere around about let's say 14.95. You know, I think there's a 7-pip run minimum on gold, and then it could go further. So try and take profit, stops at break even, or make it safe, make the trade safe, make some money out of it, whichever way. But I like the price action here, mate, which suggests to me that there is a trade at minimum, as I say, to this point, but maybe beyond.
Maybe another way to trade that, mate. Go to the daily chart.
Okay, daily charts.
Thursday's bar looks very interesting to me.
Yes, I completely agree. This one here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like that too.
You're coming off, well, if you like a head and shoulders, but you're certainly coming off a double top. You're certainly coming off a bearish engulfing lower high.
Yeah.
And you've now got a lower low, and you've now got another lower high.
Yeah. There's quite a lot, isn't there? Which, as I say, you know, trade the short term. If you trade the short term on that, then you may well get what you need, because you trade the short term, try and take your profit early, put your stops at break even, and then there could be a longer term run. Because as you say, I think the most significant thing, forget what any of these patterns are called. That's a high. That's a lower low. This is a lower high. So all we need to do is to sit, and this is the perfect place to get into a trade, because it's the first lower high potentially. So you know, we could really be moving. So gold,
I like it.
gold would be my kind of weapon of choice, if you like, for the day.
Never traded the bloody thing. One day I will. Maybe this is it.
Maybe this is the one. Yeah.
Maybe it is. It certainly looks good. I like the look of that.
Okay, mate. Well, that's us then, is it? I don't suppose there's too much for us left to do. FTSE 100 price action is, as I say, going to be a bit tricky. You're probably more kind of edging to the upside, but I don't really see much of a catalyst with this one. I think it's going to be a tricky trading day. We've popped up this morning, popping back down at the minute. If this area holds, that there is a suggestion that we go and test the weekly pivot. So you know, if you want a shorter term time frame trade, check out your 5-minute charts to see if there's any kind of hold in this area. And if there is a hold in this area, then you've probably got something to trade to the upside, to the weekly pivot up here. Looks like there could be 50 to the up, 20 to the down. So there's a trade there, but only if this holds. You know, there's no point in having this bar. This would have to hold. If it doesn't hold, it's just suggesting chop to me, and it's suggesting you know, get out of being in front of your charts and ignore the market today, because it's going to be sideways and tricky. So just have a look at the bounce is coming here, but the bounce has to prove itself that it's a hold. And as I say, if it does, I think you got a decent trade to the upside, little bounce, little scalp, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's going to go too far beyond the weekly pivot. So my personal suggestion is, if you get the trade on, probably take all, if not the majority of your trade off the table there. We are in a bear trending movement right now on the broader picture, but a little pop to the upside wouldn't be out of the question within that broader picture. So yeah, maybe wait for a bar or two. Looks like you're going to have to wait for the second bar. This bar's no good. So one more bar that would suggest that that it's going to sweep away the price action of this bar, and you've got to trade. But other than that, mate, I think we sit on our hands for the day.
Yeah, look, I'm a pound bull, have been for yonks, and I can't put anyone into the pound at the moment because it's just too tricky. But I do see 68 begging. Sorry, Aussie I'm talking about. In 68, I do see for the pound 120, 123.40 maybe today. So that's about it as far as I can see. I don't know that there's going to be a breakout. I think we're going into a range at the moment, but I'm still a bull. The euro, I want to get a price around about 110 again to get short. And the Aussie, I'd like to see that bounce off the weekly pivot and get up to 68 today. That might be a big ask for the Aussie, but that's my bias. Bounce off the weekly pivot would be good for me.
Cool. Okay, mate. Well, that is us. So the Jeff and I are just gonna sit and wait. Though this is holding, which is a good sign actually. It's a good starting sign. Wait for the bar to finish. The other good thing is look at the RSI right on 50 the 50% line. So that is showing that there's a trade there if you want to take it. So anybody that's looking for something short term, that it is showing that there is a potential trade there. You just got to let the picture unfold completely in and around about 3.5 minutes, seeing if you've got something to do. Okay, well, we'll be off. We'll be back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow to do it all again, see where this this FTSE trade ended up and whether anybody made any money on it. We'll be here for the whole week. And have a great afternoon, guys. Have a great afternoon, Jeff. And I suppose I'll see you in a couple of hours anyway.
Cheers, mate. Yes, the original TTR show is on at 2 hours and 14 minutes from now. So anybody who's wanting to join that, listening to the real heavyweights of ATW will be in that show. And we'll be looking to join them in conversation, talking about the week ahead and the trades that they are in. And we will do that in, as I say, 2 hours and 13 minutes now from this point in time.
Great
Thanks
stuff.
for joining us, everyone. Don't forget you can ask questions as well. That's all good for this show. We can see them. We'll answer them as best we can. Right, mate?
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, mate. Good stuff. We'll be back for tomorrow at 5 to 8.
5 to 8. That's the date. Don't be late.
Cool, man. See you later. See you guys.
Bye all.